All right. Hey, everybody. How you doing? And welcome back to Focus on You with Phil and Oscar. Today, we have a very exciting subject.
What was that?
I know. Hey, listen, it froze, man. I was like, what?
So if I keep on coming back on the show, when I keep on coming back, I have one stipulation. We got to come up with some theme music, man. I've got to have something that I get introed in. You know, something like Shaft had his music. I mean, like Superman has his music. All these different people, I got to have something.
Okay. All right. We're going to work on that. We're going to have a ransom music. I mean, your name sounds like a superhero name anyway.
That's it. So.
If I should name you, call you a superhero, I think I would say you were Nightwing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I go with that.
I think that Nightwing would be your alter ego. You know,
I'll take it.
I don't know, Oscar, what would your alter ego be?
I don't know, Pigpen is good for me. For those of you that the joke in the background is I am power washing some moss off of my driveway, and half of it is in the driveway, the other half is on me by the time I'm finished. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would be the Green Lantern. Yes, because I just love the fact that he can create anything from his ring, and voila, there it is. So
that's it, man.
Yeah. So obviously today we're going to be talking about superheroes.
Yeah.
And why they're so dysfunctional, but
and we're taking it from the man perspective, so we don't want to cut that out and say it's just men that are superheroes. But I just happen to be, well, I'll just introduce myself to people who haven't met me before. So I'm Ransom Davenport. I consider myself the Mantrepreneur coach. So I am the original, because I came up with the term, man entrepreneur. Now, I'm not the first one who's been a man and entrepreneur, but I'm the first to come up with that term, mantrepreneur. And so what I do is I coach men through their identity and their purpose, and moving them through that to figure out what it is to be a man, because a lot of men have identity issues. This is my personal journey as well. And I found it congruent through other men's stories. And then what it's like to become men to become entrepreneurs. So I help men who want to become entrepreneurs to become that. And those who are high level performing men that do things that are on, a different plane, different standard, different thing. There's CEOs, CFOs, all those people and places. I help them too, to help them dial in their identity, to keep really truly finding that, to keep operating from that, because that's where our power is. That's where our strength is. When we move from that, then we are unstoppable and our life looks amazing. But when we lose track of that, or if we've never even found it, that's what I help men to do, to help discover it, recover it, and to be able to keep on moving in it. That's really it in a complete nutshell. If we were going to put it together and say what that is, what I do.
So you help men to discover themselves and become better men.
That's it.
And in that, define what a man is.
Certainly.
Not what you're told it is.
Right. Right. So that's what I'm able to help them to do, and also find that out for them, because there's percentages of that, of what that looks like to be both masculine and nurturing, to have both that feminine soft side and that masculine hard side, which we most associate with male. And what is the percentages for you? And nothing right nor wrong, but what does that look like?
Wow. And like, so today we're going to be using our favorite superheroes as examples.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yeah, well, some of the best known, some of the first, some of those that are iconic, I guess you'd say. We've seen them of late because they've been out in the, Marvel comic universe. We've seen them. Some of them, well, we'll start with the original, who hasn't been out there as recent, but he's still he's, I think, the defining, a lot of ways, character that everybody else started defining around it after he came out,
right?
In my opinion.
I agree. I agree. He's the mold of superheroes. And I mean, he's from the DC universe. And of course, we're talking about Superman.
I thought you were about to hold up a graphic or something.
Superman. No, I was trying to do like this. I was like, Superman, I'm Superman.
That's it, man. Well, there were different culminations. You're not off, like after he died. For anybody there who didn't know that he died and came back and all that, spoiler alert, sorry. He had different culminations, and there wasn't a version of him that he was a black man, but then he invented this whole suit around it, and it is an amazing story. I forget that character's name. So I was young.
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, well, I figured you know it. So.
Oh yeah, well, I'm a nerd. I'm not afraid to say I am a serious comic book nerd. So talking about just the male alter ego from this point of view I'm all in. I am all in with you, Ransom, on this because I am very excited about how we can kind of delve into that. So what's your analysis of Superman?
So I just want to start off too to give kind of parameters of what I did. I looked at their family structure. I looked at their identity, their male role model. What was that? Where was this? And because you guys gave me three, you gave me Superman, gave us Captain America, America's golden man, and then of course we have Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Right.
Not so much.
Right. So much.
Not so much. But it's fascinating. We'll just dive right in here and we'll get started. So I looked at Superman. So he came out in 1938. I mean, this is before World War II. Now things are starting, I think, to get kind of ramping up in that direction. People had to be hearing the ground kind of moving and shaking what's going on in Germany. They had to have. But this character comes about. And his name originally was Kal-El. So then, just to tell the story, he came to Earth, his parents sent him there. His father, from my understanding, was more of a scientist type. And so he was the son of Jor-El and Laura. But here we go. This man starts off being sent to this weird, odd planet.
Which is Earth, of course.
Which is Earth. Which is not too. And so they get killed off in the very beginning. He has no real contact with his father. He has no idea who his father is. Now, we hear for some of the stories that he's a big deal back on his home planet of Krypton, that he's like a huge deal. So I'd have to look at it too and think about Superman wouldn't have become Superman if he wasn't sent to Earth. He would have been there. And what kind of life would he have had? From my understanding from his father, who is more of a scientist, he was more of a thinker. He was more of this. When Superman comes to Earth, and then when he becomes Superman, then he takes on this identity. He's all this man about muscle. Like he's getting it done. He's doing those things. Now his alter ego, but he becomes, his full name, I didn't know this, was Clark Joseph Kent. Clark Joseph Kent. So Philip's like, yeah, you got it. He's gonna check me on my facts. He's like,
I'm watching you.
Right.
Man, I'm watching you.
I'm watching you. That's awesome. Thank you for keeping me honest. And so, with that, then you start seeing another side of him play out. This other side of his ego, his personality. So he's got the Superman side, but then he's got the Clark Kent, the mild-mannered, nerdy, writing and doing these things. And so there's the other side. There's the thinker side. There's this side. And then you've got the action side of his personality.
So I want to throw this in there, because on his planet, they were artificially creating personality. They gave each person their personality needed for their society. So his father, having that smarter scientific sense, was really how he was molded out of the system that they had on Krypton, which is really what corrupted their whole system, because eventually nobody was naturally born. Everybody was pre-selected for their purpose, and so this is why this is very interesting, because now, I mean, just talking about it from this perspective, now he is a natural born Kryptonian out of two people that were seemingly artificially created, right? But developed this idea that let's get back to having a more natural system rather than this cloning kind of like of a system going. And so that made his father also a revolutionary. It made him different in the sense of fighting against the status quo, and him being the only one to realize that Krypton, not the only one, but one of the few that realized that Krypton was about to be expunged, and was looking for ways to save the planet, which is, the climate change folks must be, yeah, they're like, yeah, exactly, we know, we don't want to be Krypton, but it's like they were really the ones that were pushing that initiative. But when their initiative didn't change, now they decided to launch him into space and to a strange planet where he had no family. They weren't even sure who was going to find him, and so this is like a whole other sphere of, it's almost like a foster child, right?
It's almost like the Moses story, the mother sent them off. So you're off, hopefully you'll land somewhere better than here.
Right, exactly. That's a great example, Oscar. I think that's just how we should see that. But I mean, for him to have like to slowly be discovering that he's from somewhere else, because at first he didn't know like where he was from. So eventually things started to happen to him where he was like, well, I shouldn't be able to pick up this tractor, with one hand. So, or, I fell down a cliff and I made it out without any scratch on me. What's going on?
I was able to fly.
Now, I mean, think about it this way. Now you feel like somebody's lying to you. Right? Because at first you're like, well, these folks are my parents.
Right. So we'll just introduce anybody who doesn't know out there that he's talking about Clark and Martha Kent. Right. So these become his, as you say, foster parents, adopted parents. They bring him in. They're willing to take a chance. Kind of like the story of Moses too. Gets shipped down there. They take him on. Right. Take care of him. Despite what the law of the land was, because they probably should have turned a Martian in.
Yeah.
Just thinking that may have been a good idea.
This kid just landed in my yard.
I'm taking a baby from a spaceship.
Then again, they're in the Midwest. Like, who's going to believe us? Yeah. We might as well take them in and just keep it quiet.
But it's amazing that she wasn't able to be blessed with children.
Right.
So herself, her physical body, from the story, she couldn't do that. So to be willing to bring him in.
So do you think they based this off of the Moses story? Because now that you guys mentioning, I'm like, it has some huge levels of comparison. Because like Moses leaves Egypt and then he comes back and he's like, let my people go. And he goes through all of this stuff. So it's almost very kind of
there's some plagiarism going on there.
Well,
yeah.
And that's sort of place where you get to as well as so with Superman, with him. So let's just read off what he was known for. So some people out there, they've heard of Superman. It's been years since they've heard about him. But this used to be his catchphrase, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a seagull bound. Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman. Strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, defender of law and order, champion of equal rights, valiant, courageous fighter against the forces of hate and prejudice who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
That's different from the intro of the show. The show was a little bit shorter on that one.
So this is from the radio announcement.
Right. Yes.
So this is
because that's where he started on the radio. It's because they didn't have television. Radio, so they didn't have television when that first came out. But so what do you think is the psyche of the normal guy when it relates? Why are so many of us so drawn to the character of Superman?
To look at that, I think there's a lot of people who may not have always had the best fathers, and so they're fantasizing. They're thinking, what would it be like to get rid of my problems, shift into this place, become this superhuman. I'm superhuman above everybody else. Like I'm not like any other mortal man, that I have this persona, this thing that I can take on and do, that I have these special powers and abilities. It's one of those things about that super strength that, not being able to be hurt. But he did get hurt. I mean, like his heart, that was really his place. And that was his, people talk about kryptonite being his weakness, and that it was really, his heart. We get to his heart when he started, the whole thing with Lois, and then they could come after Lois and after his family and all those parts and pieces. That was a huge for him. That's his vulnerability. But I think that's it is for men, is they really see that, they resonate with that, the ability to be able to do that, to be able to do all those physical things. I know that really spoke to me as a kid, to be able to do those things, all those different things, fast as a speeding bullet. I mean, just unbelievable. People can take notice of him, and would take notice of him, because he stands above the rest.
In my day, how many kids got hurt because they tied a towel around their neck and jumped like, I can fly like super. Like, yeah, you can fly, but like straight down. So,
They would be able to fly like the way I swim.
Straight down.
Like boom. But yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so part of my thing too is I talk about 3 signposts that came up during my lifetime in this, and through my personal journey. There were the words of being unheard, unseen, and unsupported. So what I come at it from this too, but because I've been given this framework to work from, and what, with Superman, where were these things, So here he has this whole, identity, this false identity, and like there might be some integrity issues there, because he's like fooling the entire world. Yeah, like he's valiant, he's this, he's that, but he's got a completely different identity,
a different mask, as
you say. And that's what we've talked about with personal development, that mask, that person, that extra person. So that's
wait, no, my question though, which one was the mask? Because if he is from Krypton, right? If he's from Krypton, is Superman the real Kryptonian and Clark Kent the mask? Or is Clark Kent the real Kryptonian and Superman is the mask?
I think that's where his battle of identity.
Right.
He's like to fully embrace one and leave one behind and take on the other. Instead of being, I'm going to ebb and flow back and forth, do this, do that. You know, they caused him a lot of grief in his time. So I just had to wonder, you know, why did he do that? Why did he take on the personality? And, you know, I can just only surmise that, you know, he was afraid that the people wouldn't unhear him as Superman. Like they wouldn't fully accept him to who he is. You know, he'd be honest. And I think too, he wanted to be normal in some ways. He wanted to be normal in a lot of ways. He really, really, truly did. So he wouldn't think that people would see him for who he was. But then you got to think about his family. So maybe he did the alter ego to protect them.
Right.
But if you're the champion of the world, why wouldn't the world come around to support you to take care of your family? So here's your support issue.
I can see that also, the crab bucket effect, where if you're better than anyone, they will try to pull you down.
True.
So you know, our society is like, we don't like very successful people because we're really happy being mediocre.
Well, so, or different.
Or different, yeah.
Or different. I mean, we
now, really... Not only are you different, but you're different and better. And you can fly.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of like, what do you do when you're really good at something? Or, I mean, because men are really about achievement, right? We thrive on accomplishment and saying, yes, we made this, we built this, you know. I mean, look at just society in itself, and all the conquerors in the world. Their biggest thing was, look, I took over this country. I mean, you know, some guy, he came with a flag and put it in the ground, and while people were here, he said he discovered something. So, I mean, just that it wasn't even like a real accomplishment, but it was just something where he sailed across like tons of water and then decided he found India when he was actually, you know, somewhere else. I mean, so when you look at Superman, though, you see the ultimate guy, the guy that everybody wants to be. And then you see the guy that nobody wants to be.
I got a question also. That you were talking superheroes, but what about the supervillains? Because they're different, but they're using their talents to go against society. I mean, what separates the superhero from the supervillain? What's that delineating line that says, I'm going to use my powers for good, and no, I'm going to just, you know, it's all for me.
For me, it's somebody who has become jaded. So I look at I'm like, when did they use their power for good and someone didn't affirm them? Who is a lot of them too, their father figure. Who is their father figure was like, no, that was, you know, waste of your time. You did good and they did bad to you. You should just go the other way, take care of yourself.
So you're saying if you get to that that unseen, unheard, unsupported, and you have superpowers, now that just, you know, sends you off to like, I'm going to be the evilest person in the world until I'm seen, heard, and supported.
Okay, no, think about it.
What do you mean? I may take my support from you. I'm not going to ask for it. I'm not going to receive it. I'm just going to
demand it.
Take it. I'm going to demand it from the world.
That reminds me of Magneto, in the sense where he was a child that grew up during the Holocaust. His parents were killed during the Holocaust. They discovered that he had magnetic powers, right, based on the movie aspect of it, not necessarily the comic book. But and so they trained him to use his powers for evil, for their purposes. And now after he really kind of developed his powers and decided, you know what, I'm not going to let anybody control me anymore, it really all became his fight, all became about liberating himself from the people that were trying to control him. And then it became liberating others from the system that's controlling them, because Now his life is focused around all that's around control, around power and control. So is he wrong? Because if you think about it, it's like, is that what's